Hello and welcome to Norwood News' 2020 Year in Review. I'm your host, Krista McDonald. It has been a long and difficult year for many of us here in Norwood. Although there were a lot of hardships during this trying year, there were also many stories of hope and residents giving back to help this amazing community. In this episode, we will cover everything from January to December in this unforgettable year 2020. To start, we go all the way back to January. The town of Norwood rang in the new year in hope of great things to come. The Norwood Light Department officially opened the doors to their new building on Access Road. The project, which was under construction for 12 months and finished just on schedule as the new year began. The official ribbon-cutting ceremony wasn't until March, but the employees and crews started using their state-of-the-art building in January.
Well, today's moving day, first day actually open at the new location. We're thrilled to be here. We're still unpacking, we're still moving some of the equipment, but we're set up. The last storm this past weekend, the trucks were actually indoors, so that was helpful. We're glad to see that. And it's a new day. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Well, the workflow is much simpler. All the people together. The cable department's laid out better. The contractors for the cable coming over the window. It's set up so much better. A lot of thought went into the layout.
The Friends of Norwood Center, a volunteer nonprofit organization made up of local merchants and town officials, voted for their new president. One of the center's most active business owners, Charlotte Walsh, owner of Charles River Running, was named president of the Friends of Norwood Center. Walsh, a longtime member of the organization, was excited to build on the success that the group had over the past 8 years, and that she did. To end the month, Sigal Reese, director of the health department, gave an update on a new virus that started to spread across Asia called COVID-19. At the time, there were only 5 cases reported in the United States.
Hey Norwood, I'm Brian Boudreau, and I'm the promotions coordinator for Norwood Community Media and field reporter for Norwood News. 2020 started off with the annual Morrill Memorial Library Pajama Drive. You may remember in March of 2019 that Norwood got in a competition with the town of Bourne and was able to raise over 2,500 pairs of pajamas. Chief of Police William Brooks was named Chief of the Year by the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Association. No surprise there. Good job, Chief. The MPD also wished a happy retirement to Officer Paul Lear after 33 years of service. You may remember Officer Lear crossing pedestrians in front of St. Catherine's.
Hi, I'm Jack Tolman, producer for the school news segments here in Norwood News. And 2020 kicked off with one of the town's long-standing traditions as the Orient Lodge of Masons held their 10 Outstanding Youths of Norwood dinner. Commonly known as the Tony Awards, the night celebrates the accomplishments of many Norwood students, features guest speakers, and the night concludes with the awarding of the final 10 Outstanding Youths. Thank you to the Masons for sponsoring the event.
Hello there everybody and welcome into the 2020 Sports Year in Review. As always, my name is Brian Dunn, staff producer for NCM and sports reporter. January 2020 was the highlight of what concluded as one of the most successful winter sports seasons in a decade. Girls basketball secured a second straight TVL Large Championship and eventually drew the #1 seed in the Division II South Sectional Tournament bracket. Both boys and girls hockey secured tournament bids, and track and field, swim and dive, and gymnastics all consistently put up competitive performances. Senior Allie McDonough reached a career milestone of 100 points, joining the likes of Allie Maloof, Casey Smith, and Emily Kelly for the girls hockey team. With the MIAA tournament in sight, it was time for the Mustangs to showcase their skills on the playoff stage.
In February, as the concern for COVID-19 increased and the virus began to spread more rapidly around the world, Norwood's own Moderna, a biotech company that develops vaccines and drugs using messenger RNA, shipped out the first COVID-19 vaccine to go to trial. At the local level, the rec department received some good news when program director Katie Seastead was awarded the 2020 Massachusetts Recreation and Park Association New Professional of the Year Award.
On February 26th, the town of Norwood wished a happy 107th birthday to Mr. Fred Blizzard, a Norwood resident since 1950. Mr. Blizzard was presented the Boston Cane, an honor only awarded to Norwood's most senior resident. The cane is on display at Norwood Town Hall. I'm sad to report, however, that only 4 short months later in June, Mr. Blizzard passed away. We wish our condolences to his family.
The Prescott Schools celebrated their 60th birthday with a special afternoon featuring reunions of former teachers and former students. Many attended the special event, and a special cake was created to celebrate the birthday. And speaking of birthdays, the Little Mustang Preschool Academy celebrated its 2nd year anniversary of its new location at the Savage Administration Center. It was a big move, and it required a lot of teamwork. Norwood High School held its Students' Government Day, where students shadow town officials and also learn how to conduct a town meeting. Students appropriated real money and had healthy debates to reach their final decisions. NHS also held their annual winter sports rally, and the entire school came to the gym to have some fun and spread some school spirit.
February was playoff time in Norwood, and many teams were poised to make some noise in the sectional brackets. The month started off with wrestling and track, with notable individual efforts including Solomon King, who took home the TVL Individual Championship in the 55 meter, including a Division IV state title in the 300 meter. Ryan Sue placed 3rd in the state wrestling championship meet. Hannah Abrams of Swim and Dive placed 8th in the 100 freestyle and 9th in the 200 freestyle in the sectional meet. In tournament play, boys hockey dropped a heartbreaker in OT to crosstown rival Westwood at the Ice House, but just hours before, sophomore Marissa Cataldo became the hometown hero as her double overtime goal catapulted the girls hockey team to the next round in a 2-1 win over Wakefield. Here's a recap of how it went down at Robin Arena.
Cataldo, she's
take it up.
Puck.
You got speed.
She's going to go for a change. Trying to get the outside. She's got it. Cataldo in. Yeah! Marissa Cataldo wins it for Norwood.
Wow.
And the Norwood Mustangs are going to advance.
What
Great
a game.
play by Marissa Cataldo.
What a game.
Wow.
Oh, you can't draw up a better finish.
So I was coming up the corner and the other line was changing. So I was all by myself, so I just skated it up and I had to like angle her off. I cut in front of the net and there was like no time to make a move, so I just like roofed it. I don't even know. I was so hyped and I like ran, I jumped into the glass, and just the whole team was just right there.
Boys hoop missed the mark by 1 game under new head coach and high school coaching legend Kristen McDonald, and all eyes turned to girls hoops, who came in as the 1 seed and gave the Mustangs some thrilling matchups. Girls hoop would eventually fall to Hingham in the D2 South semifinals, capping off what was an incredible season. Outside of NHS, we saw a couple great kids, Kirsten Ketchell, Maggie Bedard, and Ariana Blake, free throw shoot their way into the regional round of the Elks Hoop Shot competition.
March is when the town, New England, and a lot of the country was flipped upside down by COVID. On March 6th, a number of residents, including 11 town officials, were placed in quarantine because they were deemed close contacts to a positive case. Included in those town officials was General Manager Tony Mazzucco. In the following days, the town made the decision to close all the municipal and school department offices. The DPW and Norwood Light buildings closed, but daily operations such as trash and recycling collection continued as normal. But the Recreation Department and the Morrill Memorial Library closed fully. The Police and Fire Department remained open, but operated with many changes, such as the Fire Department opening remote stations across town. Outside of COVID news, residents of Norwood hit the polls to cast their votes in the presidential primary election. President Donald Trump received 88% of the votes for the Republicans, and the Democrats were led by Joe Biden with 38% and Bernie Sanders with 23% of the votes.
With the COVID-19 pandemic putting Norwood in full crisis mode, residents and community members started scrambling to find a way to lend a helping hand to first responders and give back to the community. Alex Orfanos, host of the Today in Space podcast on NCM, heard the plea of first responders and got to work, testing 3D printed mask designs with the goal to mass produce and distribute to first responders. Swan Thang of Sky Spa on Walpole Street announced via social media that her shop would be closing temporarily, but she wanted to make sure her clients were left with a special gift.
In these uncertain times, there are many people going above and beyond to help the community. That was certainly the case with Swan Thang, owner of Sky Spa in Norwood. Last Tuesday, Thang announced over social media that the business will temporarily close because it was necessary to be part of the solution. Thursday, on their social media accounts, they announced they will be leaving complimentary kits so their customers can take care of their nails during this time.
So when it comes to the storm, when we know that we're about to close, first thing that came up to my mind is, what is my clients gonna do? Because the way we do soak off compared to other salon is very different. So clients is priority to me. I always take care of them first. So I come up with the idea of making together with a little kit, and it comes with instructions, and I make a short clips of how they can soak it off at home themselves. Just the way we do everything at our salon, I'm not sure how other salon does it, but we do them very, very differently. And my clients are very used to the way we take care of them. So I just want them, either I'm not here, I will teach them the way they can do it themselves as well.
Then, on Sunday, Sky Spa announced that they would be donating their currently unused masks to the nurses and doctors at the hospital.
Since government would recommend all business to close and to be part of the solution, and I just thought, to all this masks, I'm not going to use them anyway, so just put them in good use. And I always want to be part of the community and just want to give back for those, they've been supporting me since day one in Norwood. Actually, I reached out to one of our clients who is a nurse in Norwood Hospital. Her name is Sheila Dixon. I was asking her what is her opinion for me to donate to them, and she was just so happy that we can do that. And I, gave it to her, and it's from there.
For Thang, giving back in times like this is what makes a community.
Even though our community is small, but everything helps. And if anybody can just contribute in a little bit of everything in this time, it will be great. And message to all the salon around us, if you have anything that can help our small community, it will be amazing.
Read Across America Day, which is also known as Dr. Seuss Day, is celebrated across the district, and students, staff, and guest readers all celebrate the importance of reading. The Coakley Middle School celebrated World Language Week with a lot of decorations in the hallways and education in the classrooms. On March 4th, New England Patriot Chase Winovich surprised the NHS students by handing out free food in the main lobby. He also stopped by to the TV studio to say hello to the entire student body. This was part of a healthy breakfast campaign sponsored by Chartwell's. It is always a nice afternoon when Norwood High School inducts its newest members into the National Honor Society. Students' accomplishments are read by their peers, and it is always a proud, special ceremony. The final assembly held in the Norwood High School Auditorium in 2020 was the Winter Sports Awards on Monday, March 9th. It highlights a very successful sports season. On Thursday, March 12th, the NHS Update News team delivered the news and signed off. Little did we know that this broadcast will be the last one of the year, and on Friday, the 13th in March, the schools were closed.
In April, COVID hit Norwood hard. Chartwell Nursing Home lost 7 residents who all tested positive for COVID. Chartwell Vice President of Operations, Chris Roberts, said, "I'm sorry this pandemic happened and they had to go through this. I'm sorry that the world has to go through this, but I'm extra sorry that these 2 families have to go through it in such an intense way." Dr. Sal Perla, president of Norwood Hospital, provided the residents with the latest information on hospital operations and how they were set to prepare for the COVID surge. And the town set up a resident fund for those that were hardest hit by the pandemic. The Norwood Fund consisted of 4 donation funds: Norwood Food Security Fund, Council on Aging Senior Citizen Donation Fund, Gift of Warmth Fund, and the Veterans Assistance Fund. To end April, first responders from Norwood and the surrounding towns paraded past Norwood Hospital to show their appreciation for all the hard work by the hospital staff.
This was so nice. We've had such an outpouring of support from the community. We can't thank them enough. It's often a job that's really hard, and going home knowing that people appreciate you really helps.
Us and the nursing staff and everyone at the hospital works very hard, serving our communities, doing various jobs, and it just meant a lot for the community to come out and, do something for us. It was amazing. We expect nothing, but, it just means a lot for everyone to come together and, help us at the time of need and just help our morale and just keep us going.
We've worked with these guys so many times, and it's just, it's great. It's great that they're sharing in all of this with us and they're supportive of us. It was awesome.
It was really heartwarming, and it's always really great to be remembered. And we're working really hard here, and it's just a really great way to feel connected to the community and to remember that they really are they're supporting us.
It was a very emotional day. It's been a journey, 6-8 weeks of difficult times, stressful situations, and today was a day where all the support for everyone here, all the staff, has just led to an emotional ability to kind of let a little of that out. And I think all of our staff really do appreciate and acknowledge everything that's been going on here today. We can't thank everybody enough for doing this for us.
M.S. Walker, a Norwood-based liquor importer, bottler, and distributor, found a way to give back to frontline workers by using their stock of high-proof grain alcohol and some expertise in formulating to create and distribute over 50,000 bottles of hand sanitizer solution to local first responders and organizations. Started in late March, making masks was just a small group of about 10 people or so looking to lend a hand by creating hand-washable, reusable face coverings. The group quickly grew to over 300 volunteers by the end of April. Norwood resident and photographer Kim Federico started taking front-step photos after being inspired by a photographer in Needham. In lieu of charging for her services, she asked that clients please support local restaurants. Charlotte Walsh, owner of Charles River Running, joined forces with Matt Brown and his cousin Julia Anna O'Neill to start a social media campaign, Feeding the Front Lines. Donations would be used to hire local restaurants to cook and deliver food to first responders. By late April, $10,000 was already raised. Corbus Pharmaceuticals, located in Norwood, threw their hat in the ring to give back to Norwood by donating masks and 200 lunches to the staff of Norwood Hospital. Does anyone else remember when bears took over the town in April? Over 600 stuffed teddy bears were out on people's porches and perched in their windows. It was all part of an interactive scavenger hunt to help the kids of Norwood stay socially distant but have some fun too.
Organized annually by the Orient Lodge of Masons, the Norwood Teacher of the Year Award recognizes teachers for their dedication and commitment to the education of Norwood students. This year, 35 Norwood teachers were nominated for the 14th Annual Norwood Teacher of the Year Award. These candidates, who represent all the schools in the district, were nominated by colleagues, parents, and students who have shared stories of the teachers' excellent work. The 2020 Teacher of the Year was awarded to Norwood High School teacher Teresa Drummy. She was nominated by members of her AP English class. The entire town rallied around the teachers and students in Norwood, and the school department held 3 Norwood Pride Drive parades around the Norwood neighborhoods, which featured principals and teachers. There were 200 drivers who covered over 30 miles in the Norwood streets, and the teachers and students enjoyed seeing each other. A big shout out to the Norwood Police Department and CMS Principal, Dr. Margot Frasick, who helped organize the parades and bring some joy and happiness during this stressful time.
With the shutdown in effect, the MIAA made the extremely tough decision to fully cancel the spring sports season. It was a tough blow as the seniors and all the athletes were hoping to have their one last season. In the meantime, we caught up with some Norwood athletes such as Joey Ryan, Joe DeBlasi, and Julie Salvaggio to hear their post-high school athletic plans.
In May, Governor Charlie Baker announced the phased reopening plan and timeline for Massachusetts. Sigal Reese, Norwood's health director, provided reports on how this will impact Norwood specifically. Moderna released the Phase 1 testing for their COVID vaccine, and the results were extremely positive. Many businesses stepped up during the early months of COVID, adjusting their regular operations to assist in the production of medical supplies and protective gear. Lieutenant John Cody of Norwood Fire Department coordinated and secured the donations by visiting local businesses.
John Galvani of Norwood Bank announced that the bank would be donating $60,000 to the Norwood Public Schools Family Meal Program. The Feeding the Front Lines fundraiser wrapped up after just raising over $22,000 in just about a month's time. Castle Island Brewing teamed up with Katsaruba's brothers to put together produce baskets for local residents. With the spring weather finally arriving, John Shelby of Rojo's Car Wash continued his family's annual tradition of planting flowers around the town of Norwood for all to enjoy. Using space provided at Norwood High School, the Norwood Mustang Food Bank was underway under the direction of Jerry Miller.
Understanding that seniors were missing so many of the end-of-year traditions, including prom, spring sports, and graduation, a group of teachers set out to recognize and celebrate the graduating class of 2020. Under the cover of darkness, signs sponsored by the PTO were proudly placed all around town on the lawns to surprise and honor the class of 2020. Organized by Kristen McDonald and Caitlin Notabot, The teachers hoped that the signs would remind the class of their accomplishments. And on May 31st, the Norwood High School class of 2020 graduated from the school on the hill in a ceremony that was special, emotional, and a day that everyone will remember.
On May 31st, Norwood High School celebrated the class of 2020 in a way no one could have imagined.
First, we want to thank the community and the school, parents, families, students for their support, businesses in town. We put on an amazing event today. I believe everyone feels the same. It was an exciting opportunity to celebrate our graduates under very difficult circumstances. They've had a really rough spring, and this was an opportunity to bring them all together, have a graduation in person, give them the elements of it that we really wanted to have, and celebrate their tremendous achievements, their courage, their bravery, and their perseverance.
With smiles and tears of joy, the students drove to the school on the hill for a graduation they may not have pictured, but will surely never forget.
I'll remember this graduation with the coronavirus and masks and everything, but I'll also remember the immense amount of thought and detail and care put into every single little thing about this. My aunt was telling me that her two daughters graduated like years ago, and she thought that this one, she has a student in my grade, and she thought that this was much better than having to sit on the bleachers. But it was really cool seeing just all the teachers and everything. I felt like, in a way, obviously it wasn't the graduation I had planned on taking pictures with my friends and everything like that, but it was a really good substitute. It was like second best case scenario.
The graduates, friends, and family were grateful for the thoughtful, amazing event planned by the Norwood High School administration.
What a great day graduation was on Sunday. From the beginning of it being down at the Cleveland School, having a motorcycle escort up through Nickel Street, the families that didn't even have kids that were graduating out on the side of the road with posters and cheering, to getting up to the high school with all the teachers. I could not believe the amount of teachers that were at the high school. All of them with posters and saying kids' names and clapping, to going around the building and seeing all the varsity shirts. It really was an impressive sight. It ended with Stephen on the graduation stairs with his diploma, and also with a commemorative coin, which was just a nice act. So I just want to really say thank you to Dr. Galligan, Mrs. Durain, members of the high school staff, for all that you did for the kids. And you left an indelible mark, you know, for Kelly and myself, and most importantly, for our son Stephen. Thank you very much.
After receiving their diplomas, the celebration continued as many graduates returned to their homes and were surprised by neighbors who lined the streets to congratulate and celebrate their accomplishments. Here is Dan Gruber, a producer for NCM, walking back home surrounded by neighbors who have watched him grow and become a graduate of this special class. Congratulations, Dan, from all of us at NCM.
In May, we continued to highlight the great news that NHS athletes would be continuing their careers behind the school on the hill. Also, newspapers began to release their all-decade teams from the 2010s, and a few notable athletes made the list. Allie Maloof, class of 2011, made the softball team, and Kristen McDonald was named the Girls Basketball Coach of the Decade for her unprecedented success at the helm of Braintree Girls Basketball. And the sports world saw a light at the end of the tunnel, as golf and Norwood Country Club was one of the first sports facilities to reopen following the shutdown, and Club Pro John Resnick broke down all the new safety guidelines golfers must follow.
In June, while our country was dealing with a fourth straight month of high COVID numbers, George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer, sparking protests across the country, including here in our town. The group, Norwood United for Peace and Justice, held a vigil on the town common to speak about the topic of racial injustice.
A call for change. A call for change is an opportunity for every member of the community to have a seat at the table, to make every resident feel like a member of the family as opposed to a guest or a visitor, whose voices are audible and affect positive change. I urge you all to not waste your energy in anger, but to channel this energy to move us all forward to a place where we all feel like we're home. Thank you.
Definitely, it was surprising that this was only put together on Friday, and the fact that everyone was able to come together. It was really inspiring to me because for so long it didn't feel like anyone was like, no one was really on the same side. It felt like very much of a divide. To visually see everyone together was really inspiring. I think I started off my speech saying I feel defeated, but I feel hopeful now, and I think I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the future.
It was really nice to see everyone come out today. Like it was nice, just like looking out and like knowing everyone's taking these steps forward to like make everything happen. Like, it's really the little things that make these big changes. And like the fact that people could like come out and like actually take time to like listen and learn. That's the big key to like actually go for these changes. So it was really nice. I really enjoyed it.
It was exhilarating. I really liked going up and being able to share my thoughts and speak from my heart about stuff that actually matters to me. I think as a kid, like growing up, I just wanted to talk to a lot of people about something that affects me because it's my skin color and it's what makes me me. And having this opportunity really it made me smile. It made me happy.
The town hosted its first safe, no-touch election for many local elected positions. The main race of the night was 2 seats for selectmen, which were eventually won by Helen Donahue and Matt Lane. Also, the town hosted its first COVID town meeting in the gym at Norwood High School. Town meeting members in attendance were socially distanced in and outside of the gym, and all the articles passed in one evening.
After the governor announced that the state would be moving into Phase 2, outdoor seating began popping up all over Norwood. Along with the outdoor seating came Summer on Central, where the stretch of Central Street between Manhattan and East Cottage Streets became an extension of the Common, with benches and a place to relax on a calm spring day.
The school department worked hard in the spring to hold additional graduations throughout the district. The Little Mustangs preschool produced end-of-the-year videos to celebrate their end of the year, and the Callahan School awarded certificates to the graduating 5th graders. And after the ceremony, there was a drive-by parade in front of the school, complete with police escorts. And the Coakley Middle School produced a virtual 8th grade promotion program that was broadcast and shared with the students and their families.
June was the beginning of what would be an abbreviated summer sports season for a few baseball programs. With games set to begin once the Phase 3 reopening plan was enacted in early July, newly formed baseball leagues such as the Massachusetts Independent Baseball League, or the MIBL, and the Sandlot League began breaking in their mitts again in anticipation of a summer season.
In the final days of June, Norwood had a rainstorm that was eventually determined to be a 1,000-year storm. 5 inches of rain fell across Norwood in just 1 hour, flooding most of the town. July began with most of the town assessing and cleaning the damage caused by this major storm.
Sunday night, Norwood saw an unprecedented rainstorm that dumped over 5.5 inches of rain in just under 2 hours. There was extensive flooding all across town. Norwood Hospital was one of the hardest hit areas. Emergency crews responded and began staging a full response to help evacuate patients. Norwood Hospital was not the only area to see extensive damage. Director of Public Works, Mark Ryan, explains more.
And I'm standing on Subway Hill on Washington Street at a repair site of the sidewalk. Water came down so fast in such a short period, the street drains could not handle it. Up above Subway Hill is Chapel Street, and the drain system just couldn't accommodate the amount of water, which eventually just started cascading over the walls and into the area adjacent to the stairway. It literally carried rocks weighing 30, 40, 50 pounds into Washington Street, and then it would start ripping up the sidewalk, which we are standing on right now. What needed to be done the next day is Public Works had to come out and repair this sidewalk, remove any of the loose and damaged concrete or asphalt, compact it, and then put asphalt back. There were many incredible things that went on during this storm event, a storm event that dropped 5.5 inches in a very short period of time. It was unprecedented in this town. Numerous tree limbs down, some trees down, manhole covers were popping, debris in the road all through town. It was quite an event. So DPW crews did their best on Sunday to get the roads open and ready for the next day, which was Monday, and we went right back at it, sweeping streets around town. We have 1 street sweeper on board in-house, and we hired 2 more to sweep the neighborhoods. In addition, we have the downtown outdoor seating, which we set up with Jersey barrier type units, and they were actually carried away by this event. They were carried from in front of Limey's, which is Washington Street at Vernon, and carry right down Washington Street, then down Cottage, all the way to Broadway. It was just an incredible sight. So DPW spent most of yesterday putting that back in order for the businesses to do their outdoor dining. Today we're still out there street sweeping, clearing debris, and just trying to get everything back as normal as possible. I've been with the town of Norwood since 1999, 21 years. Never in my life have I seen such an event like this come so fast and in such force. There were literally waterfalls going down Cottage Street, top of Prospect Street, water was 1 foot deep, top of Norwood, Prospect and Winter, 1 foot deep in the roadway. It was just an amazing sight. Hopefully never see an event like this again.
The Norwood Recreation Department also took the brunt of the storm. For more, we go to Recreation Superintendent Travis Farley.
We had about 4 inches in our weight room. Our custodial area got flooded, unfortunately. Our recreational supply closet got flooded. Our multi-purpose room got flooded. We're currently assessing some of the weight room equipment to see if it's salvageable. Working with the town, Kathy Carney, to come up with a list of what's salvageable, not salvageable. Obviously, we had some considerable amount of water here in the Civic Center last night. Some of our playgrounds got hit pretty hard. Haas Pool, we had some flooding in the bathhouse. The pool actually overflowed itself onto the pool deck and then in the bathhouse. So we have to reset all the chemicals, clean up all the flood damage at the bathhouse as well.
Severe flooding was not the only damage done that day. Norwood Light Department was very busy dealing with power outages.
And we had a significant power outage throughout the town. It involved, we lost 3 of our distribution feeders. We have about 20 distribution feeders that feed throughout town. The 3 that we lost involved probably, at the worst case, about 4,800 customers. Might have been out of 16,000, to give you a magnitude. There were a number of smaller outages also throughout town. On the 3 feeders, the causes were 2 of the feeders went out at the same time due to a lightning strike at its high point. That was the Moore Street feeder and the Chapel Street feeder. It involved the areas of Pleasant Street, Moore Street, South Norwood, and some of Walpole Street area up in Westover. The other feeder that went out was the Pleasant Street feeder, which involved Factory Mutual Road, some of the Route 1 businesses, and that was caused by a lightning strike on Factory Mutual Road. The outages varied in length, but most of them were back within a few hours. Switching was done. They were isolated. We did have some additional problems as we picked them up, switch failures in one case, and the tree limbs kept on coming down, so the trees were a constant source of problems. We also had a great deal of difficulty in getting around with all the flooding. Your normal route to get to a location was very often blocked, and you had to turn around and try to find your way around.
As the warm weather continued across the town, residents were able to get outside and socially distance, causing numbers in the COVID cases to decline. The Recreation Department opened up Haas Pool and began its summer camps under strict guidelines by the Health Department. The state began Phase 3 of the reopening plan, which allowed for the opening of a number of businesses. Sigal Reese explained those businesses that were reopened here in Norwood.
Susan Clare, manager of the Norwood Community Garden, was very excited to be able to still open the garden and allow gardeners to grow crops for themselves as well as the Norwood Food Pantry. Speaking of the food pantry, also in July, Susan Jacobs Marshalsea donated over 2,000 pounds worth of food to the pantry in honor of her business's 125th anniversary. Children's librarian Katie Tighe was excited to announce that they were running their pop-up library at the elementary schools. The rec department hosted a fishing camp at Hale Reservation, and one camper reeled in a nice 3-pounder.
In July, for the first time since the pandemic shutdown, sports were back in Norwood. NCM's first live sporting event since March was the MIBL baseball matchup versus Ashland. Although the result was not what was expected, it was great to see kids playing again and a brief sense of normalcy return to the sports world. Norwood Babe Ruth also returned for a shortened season, and even Little League got in on the action in their newly formed Sandlot League.
As August began, protests for racial injustice continued across the country, and tension between police and residents were high. Here in Norwood, the police department hosted a police forum on the town common, which allowed residents to come and ask questions to officers about many topics. The rec department was excited to announce the opening of a newly renovated Bond Street playground. The playground was one of the Community Preservation Committee's first projects and has been highly used since its completion.
The Recreation Department said farewell to longtime Administrative Assistant Lee Kennedy. They honored her by rededicating the newly renovated children's room in her name. Lee served at the Civic for over 20 years. Just up the block from the Civic, a few local artists under the direction of the town manager got to work on painting jersey barriers that blocked off Central Street as part of the revitalization of the downtown area. The artists created beautiful murals that really made these concrete blocks pop.
In the summer, the main goal for the school department was to make sure that the students and staff were safe and had everything they needed to start the year. Desks and chairs had to be moved out of the classrooms, dividers were installed, and drop-off procedures were established. The IT department, led by Joe Kidd, had an extensive Chromebook deployment, which parents and students safely picked up and dropped off their Chromebooks. The schools were ready to open. The next decision to be made was how. The Norwood School Committee meetings focused on the reopening plan and had to present 3 models to the state. The committee voted by a vote of 3-1 in favor of reopening using a hybrid model, pending district resources, while the teachers in the district voted to start remote. Families in Norwood still had the choice to have their children educated remotely.
In August, the sports community was introduced to the EEA, the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, who released their first set of modified guidelines for fall sports, placing certain sports into certain categories based on risk level. Football and cheerleading fell into the high-risk category, but with news of other fall sports falling into lower-risk categories, the MIAA was able to vote and approve a master 4-season hybrid calendar. More importantly, a fall season set to begin on September 18th.
I think this is a good thing for so many people.
A collective exhale took place Wednesday afternoon after the most recent MIAA Board of Directors meeting, where it was voted to adopt a modified 4-season schedule for the upcoming year, and teams can begin official tryouts and practices on September 18th. Norwood High School Athletic Director John Lonley said in a statement, quote, "We would like to thank the MIAA COVID Task Force for all their hard work in developing guidelines for athletic participation during the 2020-2021 school year. We look forward to reviewing those guidelines and developing a plan with our district and league partners that will provide athletic opportunities for our students at NHS during the 2020-2021 school year."
And it just seemed like it was kind of good news that kept rolling in. So first, he tweeted out that they approved to move forward with the fall season. And then as they were working out some of the finer details, there was some other good information that came out too. There will be a fall 1 season, and kind of the way they worked it was that there'll be kind of 4 floating seasons throughout the year. So field hockey has been given the approval to go ahead in the first fall portion, and then it'll go right into the winter season, and then starting some point in February, I think towards the end of February, they'll have a fall 2 season where it looks like football and cheer will start out in that season. And then they really worked out a lot of fine points where if a team gets shut down in fall 1, it seems like they are going to let teams put in waivers to play in that fall 2 season if they don't get to finish out their season.
So I was so excited to be seeing the tweets from Al and seeing the tweets from everyone saying that we were going to have a season, even though there's a few more factors to be worked out. It's still looking good and it's going to happen.
I don't know, I feel like we have a lot of potential to be really good this year, and I'm excited to get back with my team, and we're just so close, and I feel like we get along so well, so I'm excited to see them again. I think that even though the season's obviously going to be different in a lot of ways, the role of being a captain doesn't really change. We still have the same responsibilities, and we have to make sure that everyone's fully engaged. Since we have a later start date, we need to make sure everyone is working out and preparing for the season so we can be as successful as possible.
September began with an email scandal that impacted the League of Women Voter Candidates Forum. A night that is usually known for its fairness to the candidates that are running for elected positions was anything but that. A fake email was sent to try to influence the outcome of the forum. After being investigated, it was found that the email was sent by candidate Michael Dooley. Dooley later apologized. After many months of construction, the Boston Skating Club opened its doors to a state-of-the-art facility on University Ave. World-class figure skaters and Norwood High School hockey players will be enjoying the home of the Mustangs for years to come.
The first day of school was Thursday, September 17th, and it took a lot of coordination. Ordering supplies, work to be done in the classrooms and hallways in order to safely open the schools. Paul Riccardi and the entire facilities team work hard to establish safety protocols, and the administration worked with the staff to develop how instruction would be delivered. Videos were produced to demonstrate and explain all the changes, and at Norwood High School, the NHS TV students produced their own video to help educate their classmates. Let's take a look at how the first day went at Norwood High.
Well, today is the first day of official school at Norwood High School, and it is so refreshing to have some students back in the building and have our students joining us from home at the same time to resume classes. It's been 6 months since we've been able to really connect with our students in this way, and we are so excited to be doing what we know best and what gives us great joy. To get here, there was so much work that had to be done from a health and safety standpoint, and just getting the building ready for our students both now and as we phase into our full hybrid learning model. So on the first day, it's just so nice to look outside, see a full parking lot full of staff members here, ready to go. And we've been itching for this for a long time. We welcomed our students that were physically here today with some chalk out front. We had a whole crew of staff members out front yesterday, putting welcoming messages on there so they can feel the love as they come on in. And in the morning, we'll have additional entrance and exit points in the morning and afternoon. Typically, we only go with 2 of those. We're going to increase that to allow for spreading out our traffic flow. We'll have additional entrance and exit points supervised by adults at arrival and dismissal. Above all, we are so excited to welcome back students, whether it be virtually or in person, back to Norwood High School, and for staff and students to be working closely together again. It looks a little bit different than it used to, but at the core of it all, teaching and learning is what we do, and we are so happy to be back doing that. Thank you.
In September, we learned what exactly the fall sports season would look like. The ones hit the hardest in terms of the modifications are field hockey and soccer. Throw-ins and headers were banned in soccer, and field hockey was reduced from 11v11 play to 7v7 play. Masks were required of every sport, and social distancing rules were enforced as much as possible. NCM sat down with Athletic Director John Lomley, who explained the nuts and bolts of what athletes and fans could expect come this October.
One of Norwood's main roadway construction projects finished as the month of October began. Dean Street, which had been closed between Neponset and Route 1 for 13 weeks, reopened for travel. The construction was to repair a culvert that collapsed in 2018. Later in the month, a fire broke out at the Norwood Commerce Center at the Winsmith Markets. After the fire was extinguished, the Norwood Commerce Center was ordered closed after fire department investigators discovered dozens of code and life safety violations.
Tuesday afternoon, just behind me, Norwood Fire Department received a call of smoke conditions. They later put out this statement. On Tuesday afternoon, just around 12 o'clock, Norwood Fire Dispatch received a Central Station fire alarm at 61 Endicott Street. While crews were responding, dispatcher Colleen de Blasi received a 911 call from a tenant reporting a smoke condition in the building. By questioning the caller, dispatcher de Blasi was able to help locate an area in the large commercial building where the fire could be. Captain Bent then arrived on scene and was advised of a possible location by dispatch. As Captain Bent headed towards the reports, NA2 and NA1 were also added to the assignment. Upon arriving on the second floor, Captain Bent encountered a heavy smoke condition there and as well on the third floor. He then ordered a working fire assignment bringing a Walpole engine to the fire and a Westwood engine to provide station coverage. The latter company started a primary search and was able to locate the seat of the fire and direct engine companies towards it. Engines 4 and 5 found the fire being held in the room of origin by an activated sprinkler system and finished extinguishing with a handheld line. The fire was quickly brought under control, but crews were on scene an additional 2 hours conducting overhaul and salvage operations. There were no injuries to any civilians or firefighters. Norwood fire investigators are currently working to determine a cause. After crews cleared, the Norwood Commerce Center was declared closed after fire investigators discovered numerous life safety and fire violations. The town of Norwood released the following statement on Wednesday. Because of the amount of clutter in the building and the way the building had been altered without proper permitting, firefighters initially had a difficult time reaching the fire with their hose lines. Firefighters had to use additional hose lines totaling about 350 feet in length in order to reach the fire and extinguish it. Seeing the condition of the building and noticing numerous fire and life safety violations, the Norwood Building Commissioner was called to the scene to review the property. Both Chief Maurice and Building Commissioner Walsh determined the building needed to be closed until numerous violations were fixed. The violations found inside the building included fire, building, electrical, health, plumbing, and zoning violations. The building inspector found an auto body shop that was operating out of the basement with several motor vehicles, boats, and motorcycles inside. The ceiling of the shop is not fire rated and flammable materials were stored inside. A 25-seat theater on the second floor of the building without proper life safety or health requirements met. Several businesses apparently selling food and alcohol without proper licensure or permits. Several building projects that were not permitted by the town that did not meet code or safety standards. Several illegal bathrooms with inadequate plumbing and ventilation. Fire code violations were as follows: obstructed egress, no pull stations, no emergency lighting, fire load in excess of sprinkler capacity, unrated stairwells, improper compartmentalization, improper fuel storage, inadequate or broken water supply, unmarked sprinkler systems, unrated egress, propped open doors, dead-end corridors.
The weekly Norwood School News started back up, and this year is hosted by Senior Class President Juliana O'Neill. The goal of this segment is to continue to highlight all the exciting things happening in our Norwood schools, and this newscast highlights images from the classrooms that show COVID safety guidelines being followed, but also that the learning is back in the classroom. For example, at the Oldham School, teachers collaborate daily to ensure that the students are getting a high quality and fluid education in both in-person and remote settings. In this picture, Gina Stevens, first grade teacher, is collaborating with reading teacher Laura Lynn, and here, fifth grade teacher Mara Brown is collaborating with Steve Perry and Scott Maffey. It is great to see Norwood teachers working together to help the students in Norwood. For Halloween, the students at the Callahan enjoyed their first ever Monster Dash. The hallways of the school were transformed into a festive obstacle course for all to enjoy. Maintaining social distancing, students galloped through ghosts, made eyeball witch's brew, ran in and out of the candy corn cones, and navigated caution tape in a zombie walk. In addition, Halloween music was played complete with disco lights. This PTA-sponsored event raised close to $12,000. Great job, Callahan.
Starting the weekend of October 10th, fall sports returned to Norwood High School. The Tri-Valley League was split into 2 pods to ensure proper contact tracing, and all games took place on weekends outside of a select few makeup games and golf matchups during the week. NCM went live for all games taking place in the turf field, and the athletes got the chance to play their fall seasons with great success, including the annual Fernando Morales Cup game, in which Norwood took the trophy home via aggregate score.
In November, the residents of Norwood and around the country casted their votes for the next President of the United States. Here in Norwood, President-elect Joe Biden edged out Donald Trump with 63% of the vote. The town hosted its second town meeting, which was set up identical to the first one held back in June. Town officials and town meeting members were kept safe by socially distanced chairs and passed all the articles in one night.
Last night, the NHS gym was host to town meeting floor. We're going to find out why town meeting had to happen when it did and how it all went.
For the purpose of providing fiscal 2021 hybrid education, and we got the breakdown on that. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. That has carried.
Well, I think everything went pretty well. No big surprises. We had great cooperation from all the town meeting members, all the staff, the high school custodians, NCM, and everybody in attendance. Everybody was very careful, I think, with social distancing and taking their seats and staying where they needed to stay. The business moved along with good discussion, and I think all in all it went pretty well. It went very well.
So we had to meet before the middle of November in order to set a tax rate or be able to balance the budget so we could set a tax rate. It's one of the critical functions that the town has to do every year. So we had to have town meeting to get that business done to balance the budget so that way we could set the tax rate, which means we can get tax bills out and ultimately have money to pay for town services. So it was an absolute necessity that town meeting meet tonight. And unfortunately, due to the way the state arranges its rules and allows us to do things, we had to meet in person. We're looking forward to a remote meeting or a digital town meeting in January, but for now it had to be in person, and we were very appreciative of all the town meeting members who came out, make sure that the town can take care of its business and keep us moving forward and keep us operating.
A couple of young Norwood residents from the Tree Streets wanted to find a way to give back during the holiday season. Michael and Ryan Grenham, along with their cousin Bobby Griffin, found their way to give back through their favorite sport, hockey, and gifts for kids. Down the street at the Senior Center, Kerry McCarthy was excited to see her seniors enjoying themselves with some classic 50s music and hot dogs. With Thanksgiving only right around the corner, School Resource Officer Jeff Baguma reached out to residents of Norwood to ask them to partake in a gift card drive for those less fortunate during the holiday season.
The NHS Madrigals were determined to continue the tradition of their holiday banquet. This event began in 1989, and the students were not going to let COVID stop them. Singing is not allowed indoors, so the students rehearsed in the NHS courtyard and then scheduled and produced a virtual version of their annual holiday banquet. Scenes were shot down at the town common and also on stage at Norwood High School. This event was a big success, and thanks to all who helped pull it off. There are less students in the hallways at NHS this fall, but there is plenty of school spirit. The Norwood Dedham game and fall rally were canceled, but it was still Spirit Week, and the hallways were decorated with posters and signs to help pump up the Mustangs. Nice job by all the students who made these creative posters.
In November, for the first time in what feels like forever, there was no Thanksgiving football between Norwood and Dedham this year. Instead, the fall sports season wrapped up in early November, and NCM got the chance to sit down with some coaches and athletes to recap what was an incredibly unique fall sports season on the fall 2020 edition of Sports Extra, hosted by Mark Hoover and Joe Meehan.
As the year comes to an end, so does the career of longtime library director Charlotte Connelly. Charlotte has been the director at Morrill Memorial Library since 2008, and in early December, the Library Board of Trustees named her predecessor, Clayton Cheever. As the second wave of COVID continues to surge across the United States, Massachusetts took a step back in the reopening plan. Stacy Lane, Assistant Director of the Health Department, explained the impacts here locally.
Santa Claus made his way to the NCM studio to talk to the children of Norwood via telephone and Skype. Santa was glad to return to Norwood and chat with the kids and wish everyone a happy holiday season. This is NCM's favorite tradition every year. And speaking of tradition, the Friends of St. Nick hosted their first ever virtual show. It was different on all accounts, but the group was still able to pull off a spectacular event.
So as we were planning over the summer, obviously it sort of came to us that there was no way we could put 500 people into a ballroom and have our normal function. And then as time went on, we were wondering how to go about doing something. The whole town was reaching out to us saying, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? What are you going to do? And everybody wanted to help, which is not uncommon in the town of Norwood. The community is great. And having Mike Maloof on our board working for, for your studio, he came up with the idea of doing a virtual sort of telethon fundraiser. And we came together and we're doing an hour plus sort of telethon to raise money, give people the opportunity, and I'll tell you, even before the airing happens, we've already raised over $18,000.
The calendar year is ending, and we are still dealing with all the issues of COVID. When I produce the school news every week, I am constantly impressed with all the teachers and students. They continue to learn in so many different creative ways, and here are a few examples. At the Willett School, the kindergarten children practice their letters and letter sounds with Mama Echo using their magnetic letters and letterboards. Baby Echo says the letter and a word that starts with that letter, and then the letter sound. Since children have their own letters and letterboard, they are able to manipulate the letters and move them to self-correct. In English class at the Balt School, third graders have been exploring the elements of informational texts. One topic that they have been learning about is identifying the main idea in a text. Students in Mrs. Kaya's class love to learn with music, and this song helped the students grasp the concept. Great job using music in the classroom. And the Little Mustangs were learning about Hanukkah and some of the different traditions associated with this special holiday. They played some dreidel games and quickly learned that Gimel is the symbol that you want your dreidel to land on, as you get to keep all the coins in the middle. While celebrating December holidays may look a little different for the Norwood schools this year, the students are learning that holidays are special no matter how you celebrate. Happy New Year, everyone, and we will see you in 2021.
With the fall season model now in place, the winter sports season had a good base to build their blueprint for a shortened season. Following a very similar structure to before, the MIAA voted to approve winter sports seasons for boys and girls ice hockey, basketball, gymnastics, and swim and dive, with tryouts beginning the week of December 14th and games to take place after the new year.
Thank you so much for watching NCM's Norwood News Year in Review. I would like to wish everyone a very happy and healthy holiday season. Goodbye 2020, and here's to a better 2021.